Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's severe weather update. So we have a slight risk of severe weather in place for 4 different areas today. One across deep South Texas, another across portions of Arkansas, Southwest Tennessee, Northwest Alabama, Northern Mississippi, another across far southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, Southwest Georgia, Florida Panhandle, and one across the east coast of Florida into southeastern Georgia. In the 4 yellow areas, we have a marginal risk covering much of the southeast in the dark green, and another marginal risk of severe weather across areas of southeastern Wyoming, southern, southwestern South Dakota, western Nebraska, and northern and northeastern Colorado. So looking at today's tornado threat, we do have a tornado threat across portions of southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, southwest Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle, where the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 5% chance of tornadoes touching down within 25 miles of a location in this brown area today, including New Orleans, Mobile, Dothan, and Tallahassee. So make sure you're paying attention and preparing for a few tornadoes in your area if you live in the brown area across the Gulf Coast and have your tornado shelter plan in place. We have a 2% chance of tornadoes touching down within 25 miles of a location across the broader green area, extending into much of the Florida Peninsula as well. So make sure you're preparing for an isolated tornado if you live in the green area. Also, a 2% tornado risk across much of Arkansas, the Boot Heel, Missouri, western Tennessee, northwestern Alabama, northern Mississippi. So be on guard for an isolated tornado if you live in these areas as well today. Looking at the damaging wind threat, we have a 15% chance of damaging straight line winds of 58 miles per hour stronger within 25 miles of a location, first across deep South Texas in areas like Corpus Christi and Brownsville, and then across southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, southwestern Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle in these yellow areas, as well as the eastern coast of Florida in the southeastern Georgia, and a 5% wind risk in the brown surrounding that, and a 5% wind risk across the Wyoming, southwestern, South Dakota, western Nebraska, northern Colorado area. So make sure you're preparing for scattered damaging winds if you live in the yellow areas and isolated damaging winds if you live in the brown areas today. And looking at today's hail threat, we do have a significant hail threat across the southern tip of Texas from Corpus Christi through Brownsville, where the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 15% hatched area for large hail once again. So once again, we could be seeing hailstones as larger than 2 inches in diameter across areas from Corpus Christi through Brownsville. So make sure you're parking your cars in the garage today if you live anywhere from Corpus Christi through Brownsville. So we could be seeing very large hail there today. And we have a 15% chance of quarter-size hail or larger within 25 miles of a location across eastern Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee, northwestern Alabama, northern Mississippi, as well as far southeastern Georgia and the eastern coast of Florida again. Make sure you're watching out for some isolated scattered large hail if you live in these yellow areas today, as well as the brown area, where a 5% chance of hail exists. Now, looking at the timing of the storms, we have a large cluster of storms ongoing this morning across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, western Florida. And as we go through the morning, the storms are going to push east, and we could be seeing intense hail-producing storms, possibly some scattered tornadoes across anywhere from New Orleans through Gulfport, Biloxi, through Mobile, and through Pensacola by 9 a.m. this morning, as we see some possibly supercells moving through the area, in addition to the broader complex of storms. Going into 10 and 11 a.m., we're going to be seeing a whole bunch of storms moving across southern Alabama, western Florida Panhandle, producing some hail, damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado. Going into noon and 1 p.m., we might see some supercells embedded, move on shore across the western Florida panhandle, central Florida panhandle, and these could be producing some tornadoes. So don't let your guard down if you live across the Florida panhandle, especially today, as we're going to be, as well as some large hail, as well as we're going to be seeing uh, a lot of storm activity, possibly embedded supercells producing hail and tornadoes through 1 p.m. today. The 2 and 3 p.m. we're going to see this continue to move across into Georgia, into eastern Florida panhandle, and then going into 5 o'clock, we could see a large hail threat across the eastern Florida peninsula, as storms are going to be firing there this afternoon. And into this evening, our storm cluster is going to move into southeastern Georgia, South Carolina. Our storms are going to move off the coast of eastern Florida as our main complex moves into western Florida. And then we're going to be seeing the threat across the Arklamis, Tennessee area. So by 4 o'clock, we're going to be seeing some storms developing across this area, producing some large hail. And these storms do look a little bit more discreet up here, so I wouldn't let my guard down on a tornado threat across central northern Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, western Tennessee, as we go into 6 o'clock. 7, 8 o'clock, could be seeing hail and isolated producing supercells moving into western Alabama, eastern Mississippi, southern Tennessee, and going into 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. we could be seeing some hail producing storms moving across northwest Alabama into the overnight, where the storms eventually will dissipate. So thanks for watching today's severe weather update. Make sure you're preparing for some isolated to scattered tornadoes, isolated to scattered damaging winds, and isolated to scattered hail if you live across the yellow and dark green areas today. Stay safe. Have a wonderful day, my friends.